Breaking news tonight in the Caylee Anthony case. Just released the shocking 911 call from a Florida meter reader who found the skull of a young child.
Yes, this is Orange County Utilities Emergency Dispatch. We found a human skull.
Oh my gosh.
I know. We got is it a meter reader? Yes. I'm going to let you speak right now with the representative from our field services facilities. Hi. Everything is recorded. Here he is.
How are you doing? Skull of if you believe it's human.
What's the location?
It's right off of Suburban and Chickasaw in the Caylee Anthony area, right by the...
Oh, indeed. Bombshell developments at every turn, from the courtroom to the crime scene, starting right now. Breaking news tonight, more bombshells in the Caylee Anthony case. Investigators now confirm that items found last night at the Anthony home are linked to the crime scene. That scene, a wooded area just a quarter mile from the home of Caylee Anthony, her grandparents, and her mother, Casey. The gruesome discovery of the skeletal remains of a small child found in a plastic bag only yesterday. And another bombshell from Casey Anthony's defense attorneys in court today.
Mr. Baez was called yesterday by the sheriff, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, and told that the anthropological measurements were correct on the child for her being Casey Anthony, that the hair color was correct, and that they were proceeding as if this was Caylee, little Caylee Anthony.
DNA results not in yet, but the judge just hours ago announced that Anthony could not have a defense team expert present during the autopsy of remains that may very well be those of her young daughter. With me now, Wendy Murphy, former prosecutor, author of And Justice for Some, and professor at the New England School of Law. Lisa Bloom, fabulous host of In Session. Dr. Ken Harshbarger, a forensic pathologist. Brian Russell, lawyer and forensic psychologist. And we're also joined by CNN's John Cowles. John, you were in the courtroom today. What was the reaction to the stunning announcement by the defense of all people regarding the resemblance of the remains to Caylee? Was this tantamount to the defense saying, hey, there's been a tentative identification of this child?
Yeah, that was very shocking and surprising, that the fact that it would have been the defense in the courthouse would say in open court that a conversation between Jose Baez and the sheriff's office, that the bones, the measurements, the age, the hair color were all similar to that of being Caylee Anthony, and the fact that it would come from the defense and not from the prosecution, and that they even said repeatedly that they could not even tentatively ID the remains in open court. And the judge even asked them, could you even give me an idea of when you could? And they said, no, we can't. We won't release anything until we have an absolute positive ID from the FBI, who's currently trying to match it by DNA evidence.
Lisa Bloom, you have watched very crafty attorneys work their magic over the years. Linda Kenny Bodden is a famous attorney. Whenever she's involved in a case, that means it's a big case. Why do you think she was the one who dropped the bombshell today, revealing that there are all these markers that line up with little Caylee, essentially saying the sheriff is proceeding as if this is little Caylee?
And you're right, Linda Kenny Bodden is a highly respected, outstanding defense attorney. She represented Phil Spector. I think she's brought into this case because she's a forensic expert. She really knows her stuff backwards and forwards. The reason why she said that in court is because the defense wanted access to the autopsy. They wanted access to the testing because sometimes DNA testing destroys the tissue, destroys the subject matter of the testing. So it's not fair for the prosecution to be able to test something if the defense can't also test it. That's why she's making that identification in court, saying, yes, we think tentatively this is Caylee Anthony, and so please let us have access to the remains in a scientific, respectable way so that we can do the testing as well.
Now, today, the lead sheriff of this investigation dropped this bombshell on ABC's Good Morning America. Listen to this.
There's certain things that they want to be looking for. Some of those clues came from the crime scene yesterday, and a lot of items were taken into our custody for review.
I know you can't go into detail, but there was something that was found that made you want to search the grandparents' home?
Absolutely.
All right, Wendy Murphy, investigators remove from the parents' home and the grandparents of little Caylee 4 boxes of evidence, 7 large paper bags. They also seized, and I find this fascinating, 4 vacuum cleaners and 2 pesticide tanks. What do you make of that?
Well, let me speak first to the vacuum cleaner issue, because I think that's the easiest to speculate about. We know that little Caylee's body was found, despite having no flesh, with a piece of duct tape over the mouth. God bless duct tape. You know, let's send a thank you note to that company. Strong enough to stay in place 6 months underwater. Unbelievable. But what's beautiful about duct tape? Fibers stick. DNA sticks. Stuff sticks. And when you go and ask for vacuum cleaners, it's because probably you found something either on the duct tape or in the black bag that was also found that is either fibrous or something that you would expect to find inside of a vacuum. When you clean your house, you know, all sorts of stuff goes inside of the vacuum, and it's impossible to get rid of. So taking those vacuum cleaners to a forensic lab now, they're going to do the really important forensic work of comparing scientifically and hopefully matching something found inside those vacuums with something found either in the bag, somehow attached to the body, or hopefully on that duct tape.
Well, let's talk about the duct tape. Dr. Kent Harshbarger, you're a forensic pathologist. Everybody's saying, well, there was duct tape on the skull. That means that it could have been put on the child's mouth, and that could be a sign of premeditation. But if there's no skin left on the child, and that's a big if, I have no independent confirmation of that, then, you know, what is fascinating to me is that everybody's making this assumption, Lisa Bloom, that somehow this duct tape remained exactly where whoever put it there put it, even though the skin has disappeared. That's not how it works. I mean, obviously, if the skin's deteriorated and the duct tape was put on the skin, then however the duct tape got to the skull means that something happened in the interim.
Well, that's right, and we know that the utility worker unfortunately kicked the bag. Of course, he didn't realize what he was doing, and then this discovery came upon him. What that means is that the crime scene was unfortunately altered to some extent, innocently, by the utility worker. So the duct tape could have moved because, as Wendy said, it was underwater for 6 months. It may have lost some of its adhesive qualities, but we also can be sure that law enforcement is looking inside the home for duct tape that would match the duct tape found in or on the body of this poor child whose remains were found. Duct tape can be matched by manufacturer's lot. So you and I might have duct tape, Jane, that looks identical. Maybe it's black, maybe it's gray. They look the same, but they can be scientifically determined as to whether they came from the same manufacturer at the same time to really ascertain if it's the same roll of tape.
Let me ask this question of our forensic pathologist, Dr. Kent Harshbarger. It seems that everybody, of course, we are all playing detective because we have to speculate. The authorities themselves aren't saying that much, but what they're saying is crucial. I mean, they're saying that there was some clue at the crime scene that made them want to search the Anthony home. And then they're saying once they got into the Anthony home, they found something that was absolutely of interest, and we saw them taking all this stuff out. We've talked about the duct tape. We've talked about the vacuum cleaner. What about the pesticides? I mean, how could that fit in?
The pesticide tanks, for a chemical exposure, maybe there was some chemical in or a receipt in the bag that was found about when something like that might have been purchased. So we don't really know what else was in the bag that may have led them to search the crime scene for that pesticide tank. Chloroform residues were found in the trunk of the vehicle. Is that going to be related to the cause of death or not? Maybe that's contained within those tanks that are looking. Duct tape, more importantly, we've heard about the lots being matched, but actually the fracture pattern of where it's ripped being matched will be crucial to actually find not only a lot that matches, but the exact roll of duct tape that matches, fingerprints on that adhesive, what fibers that adhesive collected that the vacuum cleaners bags might have in them.